homosexuality is unnatural. And where does this unnatural argument come from? Face it, it is basically bollocks. What evidence do the proponents of the unnatural argument have to show that for human beings, homosexuality is unnatural? Are they going to point to nature to show what is natural? Because if so, I'm not a big fan of people pointing to the animal world and saying things like, well, animals aren't gay, or, well, there are homosexual birds. To me, it's irrelevant. Male lions who take over a pride will kill all of the cubs that aren't theirs. Penguins feed their young by puking up pre-digested fish. I think that sometimes we should be careful when we're looking to the animal world for our role models. The fact that homosexual behaviour has been around for all of recorded human history and only been demonised fairly recently, usually where the Abrahamic religions have left their toxic little footprints, suggests to me that homosexual behaviour is a natural expression of human sexuality. And let's bear in mind that we're getting this evaluation on what is natural from people who seem to be in favour of some pretty unnatural practices themselves. We get these religious morons telling us that homosexuality is unnatural, yet the Christians seem quite happy to accept abstinence and celibacy as something that is either natural or, by being unnatural, a virtue. What about religious fasting? No surprises that not eating doesn't sound very natural to me. Jews and Muslims are perfectly happy to chop off a completely natural part of a little boy. We see religious people wearing clothes for their modesty. Well, clothes aren't natural. And what about miracles? You can't, by definition, get anything less natural than a miracle. So this natural argument from these 40 watters makes as much sense as their railing against science, as they surf the internet on their computers in their electrically heated, lit and air-conditioned homes, before going off to eat food that is, in this day and age, both plentiful and unlikely to poison them from having spoiled, and all thanks to science. This pastor of yours sounds like a bit of a gem. If the best that this guy could come up with is the two plugs analogy, then all I can say is just be really thankful that you never had sex with him. His complete lack of sexual imagination is likely to be an indicator of just how good he is in bed. And I'm going to hazard a guess that probably not very. The two plugs analogy just doesn't work. Even the example with the adapters is unnecessary. From my experience, there are bits that fit together quite happily, and quite easily too. And trust me, if it took too much effort, I'd just give it up and go and have a pie. I think that there are some arguments that are just so dumb that we need to resist the temptation to address them. As my gran used to say, don't rise to the bait. I fell for it with Anselm's ontological argument, which I thought was totally crap, and said so. And I've since spent too many hours with people trying to have them explain to me why it's right, why it's wrong, blah blah. And the two plugs analogy is just another one of these. If someone's reasoning skills are so dismal that they can come out with this sort of stuff with a straight face, then either they're really good at satire, or they are a fuckwit. And either way, responding to them is a waste of your time. You're likely to make about as much progress as if you tried to teach a fundamentalist Christian about compassion.